want to go to the other article you actually wrote on Monday of this week, though, which was wind and solar are the altcoins of energy.
Mm.
And I want to, if you don't mind further elaborating, I thought your paragraph where you broke down like what is energy on a first principles basis, I thought
Mhm.
that was excellent and would love if you could just share with our audience sort of how you came to those type of drawdowns of what energy really is and how we should rethink of it.
Yeah, energy from first principles. If you think about it, it's a way to do work, right? Like that's the physics definition. It's the capacity to do work. Um, and the more energy you have, the more you can do stuff, right? Move a heavy rock, or dig something out of the ground, or place this over here, or drill something into this, or whatever. That's how things literally get built, right? Like if you want to make a computer chip, there's a lot of work that's involved, and all that work requires energy. That's from first principles. That's essentially what energy is, and it comes from and if you follow that train of logic, the more energy you have, the more things you can build, and the better a civilization you will make. And like at the beginning, we started with just manual labor, and that was the energy that we get from food is essentially going into building boats, or um, spears, or homes, or whatever. And you did everything with your hands, and that's very labor intensive, and it doesn't scale very well. But then we started discovering stuff like fire, and we use like hydropower and wind power with windmills and dams and things of that nature. And those were, pretty innovative, during the Middle Ages and even Roman times and so on. And those made things more efficient, and you could do more things and build wonderful structures. What really supercharged civilization is the discovery that you can use fossil fuels for energy, and you could dig up coal out of the ground, or oil extract oil. Natural gas came later, but using these things, you can essentially multiply the labor of people, and that's what energy really is. It's a way to multiply the labor that you have. So it makes our time more valuable. The reason why productivity continues to increase is that we have better and better multipliers on our labor. It's not because we're more productive per se. I mean, Americans are working longer, but in a sense, like the the hours that we work for each unit of time that we work, it's way more efficient. 100 years ago, you didn't have, the modern farming equipment that you do now. So you had to do things either with a horse or something like that, or farm animals, or use manual tools, some of which might save you some labor as well. But ultimately, when you have like the $1 million farming tractor or whatever, you could do the work of like 100 people, like very, very quickly, right? With just one person. And that's what energy actually does. And fossil fuels have been that multiplier almost all over the world for lots of things from 200 years on. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's still continuing to be used, and it's the cheapest and most affordable. Yet it gets vilified by the environmentalists, and instead they're pushing something clearly inferior: solar and wind, which only supplies one type of energy, specifically electricity. It's not very portable, it's not very reliable, and it takes up way too much real estate. And that's why I call it an altcoin, because it's being pushed on us. It's marketed towards us, much in the same way altcoins are. And this is what fiat money lets the government do. It's control people through propaganda. And so most people, or the cultural zeitgeist is that, oh, wind and solar are great because they're clean. Well, if you actually look into it, it's not clean at all, right? Like you need all these like rare earth metals and weird things that for every wind turbine and solar panel that you have to extract from the environment just as much as you do like oil or gas or any of those things. And like to construct like a Tesla battery or something like that, you have to basically strip mine various places in the world to go do that. So it's a narrative being pushed on us. And it's a way to specifically keep a lot of developing countries down. And that was something that I really wanted to point out in the article, because if you do go back to first principles, all of these, developing countries aren't allowed to have access to fossil fuels. And they do this with the IMF and green energy and stuff like that. They tell them basically, if you want our money, you can't build coal power plants or have an oil refinery or whatever. That's ours. Or you have to go and use wind and solar, and of course those are very expensive. And like don't let anyone tell you it's actually cheaper or whatever. That's after all of the government subsidies and so on. And it's not very reliable. So if you don't have reliable power, then you can't make factories and stuff like that, or they're going to be much less efficient than if you're actually running them with on-demand power, which coal, gas, and nuclear allow. And that's the real problem, is that a lot of these things are ways for first world countries to oppress developing countries, and it's a lot like the IMF in that regard. And I think it's horribly unjust, and it's a boondoggle. And I've said enough. I'll let you guys comment.
No, I mean, look, to your point, and I'm not going to try to act like I'm either an energy expert or an expert on what's going on in Sri Lanka, but like, it's exactly that. It's these mandates that the country tried to adhere to that they couldn't afford to operate under. And then as a result, like, they're out of energy. Like, they don't have any oil. They're running out of food as a result because of all of these ESG requirements. And I'm curious what your thoughts are just on the broader ESG narrative and how that fits into this whole like clean energy. Let's get off of fossil fuel. Like, it all feeds into one another. And I'm curious where ESG, how big of an effect it has on all of this. In your